Hello guys, compliments of the season to you. Happy holidays. And now that we are back to work, I bring you support and resistance. I know you have fed support and resistance many times and now you can trade it. So today I want to teach you in simple terms how you can simply understand support and resistance and now you can identify it on a price chart and now you can trade it as well. So when we say support and resistance, what does it actually mean to say support and resistance? Support is a price level or price line on a chart in which price has been to multiple times and price has held price and prevented it from going further down. So that is support. Resistance is just the inverse of support. It is a direct opposite, which means it does the opposite thing of support. So resistance is a price level or price line in which price has traveled to or rallied to and couldn't go above it. Or if it managed to go above it, but still resists and pushes price back down. So in short, support is a level on a chart which prevents price from going downwards, while resistance is a level on a chart which prevents price from going upwards. So in simple terminologies, let me give you a brief example of what support and resistance does. Assuming we have two tables on top of each other, we have the first table and then we have the second table on top of each other. This table, they do have legs, right? Here we have our floor. That's the ground, the main ground on which the table sits. And this table is right on top of this table with the legs standing on the table. I don't want to draw it so we do not confuse the example I want to give. So if you have a ball in your hand, like a tennis ball, you know some balls, they do bounce very hard, while some, they are heavy to bounce. But assuming you have a really bouncy ball on hand, and then you are standing right here, and then you are holding the ball, then you throw it against the table here. What will happen the moment the ball hits the table? The ball will bounce back up, right? Gets to a stage where it couldn't go up any further due to law of gravity, then it will come back to the table. If there is still much force on the ball, this bounce will continue. It will come back to the table again and bounce back up, and this bounce will continue until it either falls to the ground or it bounces from the table and go above the table on top. So what has the table at the bottom done to this very ball? It has supported the ball to continue the bouncing motion in which you set in place. So the moment the ball hits the table, it keeps bouncing, and every time the ball comes back to the table, it returns it back upward. And what is the bottom of this upper table doing to the ball? When the ball bounces from this lower table and hits the under of this table pushes it back down to the table below. And when this table below pushes it back up to the table above, this one again returns it back to the table below, and it just keeps oscillating between the lower table and the upper table. So this lower table, we will say it is supporting the ball, right? It's supporting the ball from going to the ground. Why? This upper table is resisting the ball from going above to the ceiling. Let me quickly draw the ceiling. So we have the ceiling here too. Are you getting it? These lines I've just drawn, this table representation, the ground and the main ceiling, they are just representation to show that on a price chart, you can have several levels of support and resistance. And common ways, people do say when support breaks, it turns to resistance. And when resistance breaks, it turns to support. How is this possible? Let me start with the support version. Like I said, this is our bottom table, the table supporting the price and me. In this case, the ball. The ball is the price, right? And the table are the support zone or the support level and the resistance zone or the resistance level. So when the ball gets to the table, it supports it and bounces it back up, which get resisted at this upper table, which is the resistance zone now, then comes back to the support, finds support, as in the table still supports it from going down, because the extension of the table is from this point A to this point B. So it keeps supporting it until there is no more support, or until a place where the table does not reach. And what will you see? Once the ball gets rejected from this upper table, it falls to the ground. Now, this support here at this point will be said to have broken in terms of price action. This support is broken because it does not reach the level at which the price falls below it. Now this support has broken. Now when they say support broken turns to resistance, this is what they mean. Assuming that the moment this ball falls to the ground, it can go in any direction, right? It can go like this. Likewise, it can come like this. Assuming the ball comes like this, what will happen is we hit the under of this very table, which was our old support, and this table, which was our old support, will now act as resistance and push the ball back to the ground. If the ball still has a lot of force, as in those bouncy balls, those balls you throw on the ground and they keep bouncing very fast. If the ball still has a lot of bouncing momentum, the moment it hits the bottom of the table and gets rejected or resisted and pushed back to the ground, it will still find support on the ground, right? And go back to the table again. But because the table is a solid material, it will still resist it and pushes it back to the ground again. And this oscillation will continue until this now new resistance gets broken again, where the table could not reach. Then it goes up. Are you getting how support broken can turn to resistance? This is the analogy. Now, sometimes support broken will not turn to resistance, but get reclaimed as support. And this is a scenario which I identified here. If the price drops to the ground, goes this other way, which means it's not coming to find resistance under the table, and maybe there is another table to this right side, then just bounces on top of that table and then continues the journey back up. Assuming these tables, they continue to this side, but there is a hole here, like there is a hole here that separates the two tables, and there is another table here like this. If this ball now comes up and with little momentum fortunately drop on top of this table, what will happen? This table will support it and push it back up, and then it will continue the way we have seen here. And when they do say once resistance is broken, it do turns to support. It is also the opposite of what I have described there. Assuming this ball did not drop below the table, the support didn't break, but then the resistance got broken. So it found support at this table and then comes up where the upper table couldn't reach to resist the ball. So there are two options. Either the ball comes back down below it, or the ball jumps on top of the table. Now what will happen if the ball still has a force to bounce? Once it touches the top of this upper table rather than the bottom, now the under, it will find support, right? It will bounce probably to the ceiling. The ceiling will then be the new resistance, the way the ground or the floor became the new support, and then price we keep oscillating between the new support and the new resistance until it breaks back down where the table couldn't reach, or it breaks up wherever there is an opening in the ceiling. Some bones, like I said, they are very strong. They can actually hit the ceiling and break it. Also, if the table is very light table, like plywood, it can actually break as well. The ball will just drop on the table with a very big force and then penetrates the table. So that was why I said probably there is a gap of oh yeah. And not every resistance, like we have the resistance here when the ball was under the upper table, not every resistance will turn to support. In the case the ball just comes back inside of the table, it can just comes back. If it bounces on top, comes back, instead of finding support on this upper table here, they can just come down, back down, find support at the old support, then comes back to test this continuation of this table as resistance and continue. So in scenarios like this, where the resistance gets broken and then comes back inside of it to continue as resistance again, we call this type of move deviation. They say it is deviation in price. Are you getting it? Likewise, support. When support breaks, instead of using it as resistance, it just comes back on top again to find support and continue the range in which it was initially. That is deviation. I hope you get the analogy. It's something you actually do when you play with your little brothers or your friends, when you bounce ball on the ground, or when you play table tennis. When you hit the ball to the table pushes it up. It undulates it to the other side where your opponent is. It bounces on the table. It bounces back up. Then the opposing player smashes it back into your side of the court. Once it touches the table, what happens? It bounces up. And you know, balls, they do lose momentum when they are traveling up due to law of gravity, like I said. So that space in here, if you keep bouncing a ball on the ground, you know, it wouldn't go up to the roof. But you find resistance in the here due to law of gravity. And sometimes you will have your table like this, you will throw the ball, it will find support, bounce up, and it keeps reducing the momentum until it flattens out. The ground is solid and not changeable, so it remains a support. But then the descending momentum of the ball, which keeps reducing over time due to law of gravity, it's also resistance, but it is not an horizontal resistance, but a diagonal resistance. We will go into detail on that in the next lesson, which should be trend lines, and chart patterns. So for now, we stick to the horizontal support and resistance levels, which I have explained here. So let's go into some examples using the actual price to see how we can spot our support and resistance. But remember, I said support is an area or a level where price has touched multiple times, right? Like if you look, let me remove this quickly. We see a price move like this. Sorry, this diagram is not accurate. So we see this level seems to be holding the price back up, even though the ball keeps coming down a little bit, maybe slopy ground. Then we take this level as a support. This will be a support because nowadays they do draw support and resistance as zones, ranges from one point to the other due to stop point and another. But traditionally, you draw your support and resistance as a line like this. Even though the price might have come under it, but the fact that it comes back above and comes back again above means this, around this point and this point, they are deviation. Like I said in the previous example, that some supports will break only for them to come back above instead of using it as resistance, whereas some support will break and they will come back to the old support and test it as resistance and keep going like that until it breaks and then uses it as support again. So let's find on the chart where we can actually see some support and resistance. Support and resistance can be very tricky to spot actually, because of the fact that when you look at the chart like this, it's like very big, you can't see past the task, you can't really pinpoint which 2 points connects to each other. So the easiest way to draw your support and resistance, let me say support in this case, is you want to see when the price is coming down, reaches a level, go backs up, then comes back again to that very level and go backs up again. So all you want to do is connect these 2 lines, minimum of 2 lines. Connect these 2 lines together, this point and this point, where the price came to and bounced back up. Then it came back again to test it again and bounce back up again. Connect these 2 lines. This will be possible areas where price might trade to in future and find support to rally back to the upside, right? We have many support and resistance rules, and some of the rules is the more touches a support and resistance has, the better the price level to work well in the future. If you have a price level like this, you have this support and resistance, this is just one touch, the second touch, and you expect price to come back into it and hold that support. It may not hold that support because 2 touches do not actually show how serious that one may be. You may have something like this and then it will come and act as resistance. But then if you have a level where price has come to the first time from support, then the second time from support, then the third time from support, then the fourth time and from support, this level or this level, which one do you think will hold price whenever it returns back to it? According to support and resistance laws, this one will hold more probability than this very one. This will be a weak resistance which you want to trade with caution, but this, because it has held price multiple times in the past, you expect it to hold the price again whenever it trades back into it. But the easiest way you can locate and find your support or resistance is to connect minimum of 2 points. Nowadays, we do see price actions where price travel from an upside, rallies down or drops down, then find supports like this at this level. People mark this single level as support, and then they expect price to come back into it like this and find support, then go back up. I can't say this is wrong, neither can I say it is right. Why can't I say it is wrong? Why can't I say it is right? Actually, there was support here, no doubt. But is it a strong level of support? That is what we want to look at. Some people will predict tops and bottom, which is not quite right in the market. They expect, because the price has found support here only one time, they are not waiting for the second time. They are trading this as support and waiting for the price to come back into it. They enter the trade and then expect rally. But then sometimes they see that then they are wrong and the price breaks down. Just because we don't know what market structure will do, but they are calling double bottom. They are saying here will be double bottom, which at times is not right. We do not know what market structure will say. Maybe the trend to the downside will continue if this leg is shorter than this leg, especially if this is a lower high. But then they are predicting double bottom like it. But if we have a confirmed double bottom like we have here, which means price has visited this support level once and twice, then it's easy for us to predict another bottom, that once price comes back into it, it will hold the price and rally back up again. But with just one bottom here, it is not easy to predict that when price comes back into it, it will hold as support. Everything that I've shown you here, the opposite is true for resistance. So let us not go into detail on that again. So like I said, it can be tricky to identify support when you are looking at an extended chart like this, because you are looking, at times you have good eyes, you can spot it easily, but then when you zoom out, you can easily pinpoint the level at which you have your support and resistance. Now, there is one thing I want to say before I continue again. Like I said before, we have a level like this, and we have price finding support here, then breaks down to come as resistance, right? You can actually use this to find your support and resistance, which means a level at which price once found support and then it broke down only to find resistance. That would be a good level for price support and resistance. Another thing is a level where you have price comes, it found support, then it comes back again and finds support. Two touches, like I explained in the very last example. That is another way you can find your support or resistance, because when this break is become resistance, and if it's for resistance, a level where price was resisted, then it comes back again and found resistance. So you want to look at least for minimum of 2 touches. Minimum of 2 touches. If you are not saying minimum of 2 touches, you want to see a level where price has supported before, broke down, and then found resistance. So this pattern or these patterns are what you are looking for. And in terms of resistance for this, that would be a point where price came, found resistance, then broke up, only to find support and rallies back up. So this will be the patterns for which you want to use in identifying support and resistance. I hope you know that. So let's actually look at this chart and see if we can get something like that. So when you zoom out, you can easily see which points look close to each other. And as you can see, I see a point here. I see this very point, and I see this very point. Like I said, it can go actually above due to stop hunting, smart money stop hunting the market. But then there, because the price was still resisted and it came back down, we have our first point of resistance here. So I will mark that. Then let's continue looking. Let me make it a bit bigger so we can actually see clearly. Then which other point are we seeing as support? I see another point, which is here. This is 1, this is 2. If this haven't happened, this 1, 2 is alone satisfactory enough to take this trade as support. And when price came into it, it found support and price rallied. Now here, you have these points, 1, 2. This price went above it, but it closes below it and rallied back down or dropped down. So that is a good point of resistance. When price visited it, it didn't quite touch it here. Let me make this a bit bigger. It didn't quite touch it, but it broke up. And what did we see on this very candle here? We saw that it came back to it to test this as support, and it rallied back up. So next time, price may come back into this very past resistance and use it as support. It has done so here, so we will be expecting it to do it again, right? Just like here, high which price broke down here. If price closes below this low at this point, we will expect it to come back into the past support and test it again as resistance. It doesn't mean it will always happen like this. It can also come back close below it, comes back up, and then find support again. That means this point where if the price closes, sorry, if we have price closing below this like this, and then coming back to rally inside or above the support again, then price may just come back to the support and find it as support once again, and then price will rally back up. So what happened here is what we call deviation or stop points, right? So let's continue and see if we can spot any other level of support and resistance on this very chart. Now we have some level again here. Here, it doesn't matter if it goes above, in as much as it comes and it drops the price down. Then here again came above it and drops the price down. And this is 1, this is 2. When price visited it here, it closed above, but the very second bar closed below it. Then this third bar tried to go above it, but it couldn't. So this was resistance here. It tried to find support here, but it didn't. It closed back below it. Then this tried to go above it, but then got pushed back. So the move we have here, this entire move, is deviation or a stop point. I hope you're understanding this. So let's see if we can get another level of support and resistance. Okay, see this level here. We have, that was where the market got listed, so we have a resistance there. Then price came back to it here. We have a resistance. Price came back to it. We found resistance before breaking above it. Then it came back to it to retest it and found support. Sometimes we just close back up below it, then use it as resistance again, like this. I will use closes below it, then use it as resistance like this. But in this case, it didn't happen. What we saw was price going above it. There was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, this red candle. Then here, it found support. Price went up, came back to it again here, found support. Then here, it got close, but it didn't find support. Here, it found support because it closed above it. But then here, what do they see here? This very point. What do we see? We see the price coming below it, closing below it, trading below it. Then the moment it came back on top of it, it found support here, then it found support here, and the price rallied off. So here, this very point, this little point below the line of support and resistance is deviation. It is a nonce, or we call it bear trap, because this support got broken at this point. Many traders who are breakout traders will start shorting this market. They will be selling and placing their stop probably somewhere above. They are placing their stop somewhere above here, because this closed below, so they are shorting from this region the moment it closes or the moment it opens below. They expect the price to go and do something like this. But then what do they get? We saw price closing, then the moment they enter their short, price came back up, triggered their stops, and came back to the level to find support, rallied back up, came back again to the level to find support, and then boom. So you want to know these things in order to be able to identify your support and resistance. Let's look at another chart, and hopefully we can identify support and resistance on that very chart. Again, we want to look at where we have multiple touches. I can see one immediately here, which we have here. We have this point. This is the first point, and this is the second point. Now, here, it came into it this first time, found resistance, came back again, resistance, came back again, resistance. Here, they didn't touch, they broke above it. Then it came back to it, and what did they do? He used it as support, and then price rallied. Are you seeing it? We have resistance on the first time, second time, then the third time, and the fourth time it broke it up and then it came back to it and used this as support. Then price went back up. I hope you can see that. This is it. This was the first time the price couldn't go above, came back. This is the second time, and this is the third time. So it just rule like that. But like I said, some people do use zones these days. So instead of using these lines, because it can be tricky, you can just use a boss like this, draw it from this very high where the price rallied to, and this opening here, which is the highest close. You just want to use this full region as a support and resistance. So when price came into it, it found resistance, then traveled above it and back inside it and found support and went back up. What will you now be expecting? You'll be expecting once price comes back again, you expect it to act as support, right? Let's see if we can see more support or resistance on this chart. Let me zoom it out now so we can really see. Here we have another one. This is the first point. This is the second point. I wish the price haven't traded up to this level by this time. We have 1, 2. Then you want to use this as your resistance, right? And we have price trading back into it, coming back down, trading back into it here again, then finding resistance before breaking up. It came close to it, but it didn't touch the line. This is where using box like this as a support and resistance zone is good, because you can actually draw the zone like this, or up to anywhere you think, or maybe to the opening of this very price. And using the box, you have a wide space in which price can come back into and find support and then travel back up. Let's see again if we have another area on this chart where we can easily spot support and resistance. I'm seeing another one again. I don't know if you guys can actually see this, but here we have resistance here. We have resistance here. Then it broke up here. Let me roll it. Then it's not straight. Oh, my hand is not straight. Okay, better. We have resistance here. We have resistance here. Price broke above it. Came into it, found support. Came into it, found support. Came into it, found support. Still found support here. But here, it got broken. Now, the very moment it got broken, what happened? What are we seeing here? This green candle is a retest of the zone, which means it then found resistance and then came back down. So the next time you expect price to find resistance, but I don't think we did. But then we still found support. Well, and we got to it again, right? If we extend this, well, you can see here, this was an old level of resistance, right? Let me draw it well. This was an old level of resistance. Here, finding support, finding resistance here. Couldn't touch it here. Here, broke above it. All this breaking below is expected. But then, if they are stop hunting, right? Anybody using the line as an entry, they are trying to stop on there. But then you have another zone here. So, but the fact that all this price action still closes above of this level, sorry about the fact that this price action still closes above of this level here, none of these tests actually closed below this line. This means this is holding again as support. Are you getting it? If it has closed below, then it wouldn't be holding as support anymore, but probably at as resistance. But then none of these three touches closed below, so it acted very well as support. My time is gone. I don't want to be taking too much of your time, but let's see if we can take one more example. Let's check another time frame for this. Here we can see point of resistance here, which is the first. You can use this one, you can use this one, but then I take this whole one as one. I will take this whole swing as one, and this whole swing here as the second touch. Then you break above. So the next time I expect price to come back into it and act as support. Then here we have support here, right? Price couldn't go lower because it tried to. And when price traded into it here, we found support. This is one, This is the second touch, and price came into here again and then found support. Like I said, price didn't close below it on any occasion, which means it's acting as a strong level of support. But for you to have rest of mind, you can just draw it like this, using the bottom and up to the wick. I wish this price haven't traded up to this point at this particular time. You could have done it like this. Here you could have been stop hunted if you have used stop. This is why it's good to wait for confirmation before getting stopped out. That is another lesson. Let's check another favorite time frame I like to see and see if we can spot another level of support and resistance. Let me zoom out. Okay, I think I have identified this one. So let me just, I identified this one before on the daily. Then I identified this one on the daily. Then which other one can we see? There is one here. We have one touch here. Then we have another one here. I'm not using this region as one because we have space in between them. If there is no space between them, then I will use it as one, but then we have space. As you can see here, we have space in between them. So I'll just use the top there like this. If I roll it across the line, here we have resistance, resistance. That confirms it as resistance. Here then price traded into it, found resistance. The moment it broke above it, it came back into it and found it as support. Here was a deviation, but then it came back into it again and then acted as resistance here again. Traded into it here, found support. Here was deviation, but then here they are basically whipsaw on this time frame. Price is just parabolating in between, acting as either support or resistance. So at this point, you do not want to trade until you have a confirmation. And we got the confirmation at this very point here, where price acted as support here and then rallied off. So what will you expect is price to trade back into it and that as support again. So let's see if there is any more. Let me zoom out for easy identification. I see another level here. We have resistance here. We have resistance here. That's two. Resistance and resistance here. Price broke it, then found support on it. If you can see, it had support here. Before support here at this level, then here for again support. Broke it down, a bit of resistance here, but whipsaw, right? Here resistance, here broke above it again and used it as support. Came back here, used it as support. Here again as support. Price haven't come back here since then. Here is another level. You can actually use the body like that. You can also use the wick like this. That is why some people prefer, they just encapsulate the whole region like this. And they draw a zone like that. And extend it. And whenever price comes back into it, they are willing to trade it as support. Here we have resistance. We have resistance and resistance here. What happened when price came into it? It broke it. But then he used it here as support. Then the price rallied off. So those are the easiest way you can identify support and resistance. You see, it is like the bouncing ball. When the roof or the upper table was resisting the price from going up, and the moment it broke above it and found support on another table, and it keeps bouncing up, met resistance here again, that is another table on top of the ceiling. Then came back, found the table which supported it, bounced back up, came down, but it didn't quite get to this place. There could have been a level of support here because of this price here and this price here. But it supported here, but then broke it. I don't even think he uses as support. Okay, he used. So it's as simple as that. It's quite easy. So that is it for support and resistance, guys. We will be bringing many series on this technical analysis, but before then, I will go into trend lines and chart patterns, where we'll talk about diagonal support and resistance. And that is a type of support and resistance where you have two touches in a diagonal form like this. You have your first touch here, second touch here, probably a third touch here. So we'll go into that in detail in the next lesson. Thanks for being with us, guys, and happy new year once again.